Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for people and animals. And this is Tristan, he's a Corgi, and this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. I'm going to try to make you so that you can see me on a straight line, so you don't have to work so hard. Let's see. All kinds of technical things going on here with this Mercury retrograde. So today on Conversations with a Corgi, we are going to be talking about tuning forks. And in particular today, we are going to talk about what they call the angel tuning forks, which are very important to my practice in hospice care for pets and for people. And in particular, these tuning forks are often used when I'm working with an animal or a person who is crossing over the rainbow bridge. And the angel tuners are tiny little fellas, or girls, and they come in a set of 3, and they have very high frequencies, 4,096, 4,160, and 4,225 cycles per second. That's a very high vibration. And they enhance the connection between us and universal energy. So they're really great to use in a Reiki session or in a craniosacral therapy session, or any time when you want to connect with universal energy. They are useful to manifest inspiration. They are helpful to achieve and maintain a meditative state, and they open the gateway to spiritual insights and spiritual experiences. And one reason we're sitting in front of my harp today is because we think about angels associated with harps, and some of the high frequencies in the harp are reminiscent of the sounds in these angel tuners. They are based on the 9th octave of overtones, and that is an interesting thing because this means that one tone creates a second tone, and the second tone creates a third tone, etc. And these tones go up in pitch, and this ascending pitch represents the archetype images of Jacob's ladder and also the stairway to heaven. So those ascending pitches represent progressing towards heaven. A particular composer who, Tristan's sitting on the sound cord, who I appreciate quite a bit, I like his work, is a Russian composer named Alexander Scriabin. And he believed that the 9th octave overtones unite heaven and earth. And for his final composition, which he called Mysterium, it was played in India, and they had bells hanging from pretend clouds to make the sounds of these 9th overtones, like the angel tuners. So they're really important. And as I said, they can open pathways to the angelic realm. They can be useful to vibrate the cranial bones and to assist in a craniosacral therapy treatment, in fact. They connect to your higher powers and to creative expression. And angel tuners are helpful to achieve a visionary state, and they are also helpful to achieve insight. And this particular fork, the 4096 one, which is this one here, they all look pretty similar. Some are a little longer than others. That particular one is called the crystal tuner because it has a frequency that has been tuned to match the pulsation of the earth. And this particular one amplifies the healing powers of crystals, which of course, as we know, are gifts from the earth, and they are incredibly powerful. Just holding a crystal can bring you so much grounding and peace. And as I've mentioned before, when we were doing T-Touch trainings in the early days, Linda gave us each a crystal when we left class, and they were a way for us to connect with our feeling of groundedness, centeredness, and inspiration that we had felt during our T-Touch time together. And they were also a way for us to connect because in those days you had landline phones and big phone bills, and it was very expensive to connect with people. So these crystals were a way that you could sit and hold one and imagine communicating with the people that were in your group who also received a crystal. And in fact, when my horse Hawk died, I laid on my pillow holding a crystal with the others surrounding my head, calling to him to see how he was doing. And then I spoke with Penelope Smith, who is a brilliant animal communicator. And she said that Hawk was waiting to come and talk to her and to me to give us information about his passing. So crystals can be really profound, and having a tuning fork to work with a crystal is also really useful. So this particular little fork, the 4096, amplifies the healing power of crystal through vibration and through sound. It enhances the crystal's ability to conduct light, and it produces a powerful sound healing at the same time. And in particular, this fork is a bridge between heaven and earth. And if you hold a crystal and a fork, you can feel the vibrations in the crystal from the tuning fork. So let's just try that. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. It's a very high tone. There. So with this, you can feel the crystal vibrations from the tuning fork in the crystal. So that's really useful. And you can tap the fork with a crystal. Hear that sound? Oh, the Corgi's leaving. Here, Tris. He's back. Come here, honey. Come on. These high tones can be really intense, and for his little ears being so close by, it's probably too much. But you can feel the vibrations in the crystal from the fork. It makes a really high sound, and some have described the tones of these as similar to the sounds of dolphins and whales. And another thing you can do with this is tap the fork on the crystal, and then point the crystal to an area of the body where you need healing. So one thing I often do, stay here, bunny. One thing I often do is work with animals crossing the rainbow bridge, in which case I will point the crystal towards their crown chakra to help them find that connection between heaven and earth. And I'm just holding it lightly on my hair, and I can actually feel the vibration in my hair and through my skull. And I've also used it on my third eye to help me gain insight about a situation that I have second thoughts, doubts, issues with. And it's been really helpful for that as well. Some of the other things you can do with these angel tuners are tap two together and meditate on the sound. Dog hair. Or you can tap all three together, and that makes a different sound, and you can actually feel the vibrations moving between the forks when you hold three of them together like this. And as I said, in craniosacral therapy sessions, I often use the fork and the crystal at the end of a session so that I can tap the fork on the crystal and then direct these vibrations right to a specific sutural restriction or a place where there was a restriction, and it just imparts the most gentle movement you can imagine. And I've also used the the fork itself, just gently on the hair above a suture. And as I mentioned many times, the hair grows from the same embryonic tissue as the nervous system. So the hair is a direct connection to your central nervous system. You can also use this to get more movement in specific bones in the rotational properties of the temporal bones. I have some people that struggle with Meniere's disease, and I've used this to kind of almost reboot the temporal bones during and after a session. And you can also use this combination to resolve any kind of conflicting energies in the body. You know, old scar tissue, stuck energy from emotions, physical injury, spiritual crisis, those sorts of things. And there are many, many, many creative ways to use these tuning forks. And I often use these angel tuners when I am working with an animal crossing the rainbow bridge, as I may well be doing later today. And I often use the essential oil, frankincense, on the crown chakra at the same time. It has sort of a musky, lemony, it's a really beautiful fragrance, and if you haven't ever experienced the fragrance of frankincense, I encourage you. But just putting some on the crown chakra seems to really bring animals peace when they're crossing over, as does the sound of the angel tuners. And I have used the angel tuners in particular with a horse that was crossing the Rainbow Bridge, and it was taking him a few days to make that process complete. He had a lot of unfinished business to work through, and we were talking to him with an animal communicator and working with him with my shaman friend Tracy Broom. And during that time, he seemed to really get peace from the high vibrations of the angel tuners, because they are able to bring you up to a very high frequency. A frequency in your central nervous system or in animals might be 80 or 85 hertz, and these are so much higher than that. These are 4,160 hertz. So that's able to bring you to a state not only to wellness in your body, but beyond that to wellness in the spiritual plane, to help you make that transition, to elevate you out of the physical state of your body into the spiritual self that you all and we all are. And so that's why I have found these angel tuners to be particularly useful when someone is crossing the Rainbow Bridge. And I have used them also to clear a room if I've been with someone at the vet when they bring their pet in, just to change the vibration of the room to bring it to a higher frequency, so there's not this stagnant energy remaining after that animal has crossed, and the sadness of his family and everyone on the earth who knew him. So here is again the sound of these angel tuning forks. Tristan, I hope you can hang in there. He says it's very high, Mom. And you can hear how the sound of the 3 blend into the sound of 1, which is an important part about that idea of the 9th octave. All these little guys are hard to hold. And if you haven't ever listened to anything by the composer Alexander Scriabin, I really recommend it. It's beautiful music, very high vibrational frequencies in his music. We have a dog hair hanging on our tuner's bits. And again, just a reminder that you can use them with a tuning fork, with a crystal, tapping the fork with the crystal and feeling the vibrations in the crystal. It's much stronger if it's closer. And you can also directly touch the fork with the crystal very gently so that you don't stop the frequency. But it's a beautiful thing to do for yourself or for your pet if he's transitioning to the Rainbow Bridge, and for yourself if you want to connect with an animal across the Rainbow Bridge. It's also a great thing for anybody who's practicing animal communication. This is a good way to get you into a higher vibrational frequency so that you are able to connect with animals on a deeper level and on a spiritual level. And also if you're practicing any kind of spiritual training such as shaman work or Reiki, these high vibrations can really kind of bring you some oomph in the middle of the day if you've done a lot of sessions and you really just need to get back to that high frequency that is required to do good healing work. So I really recommend these angel tuners for anyone who is doing any kind of spiritual work on themselves or with others. Great adjunct to craniosacral sessions, very helpful at the end of a Reiki session to use these around the person's head or the animal's head. I often use them at the end of a session. That way, if an animal is in a very fragile state, they can be really helpful to bring him to his higher self so that he can allow his higher self to take over the situation so that he doesn't have to micromanage. If you listen to our talks about flower essences, many of the flowers connect the animal with his higher self so that the higher self can be in charge and you don't have to be so busy worrying about everything on the earth plane. So angel tuners can be really useful to bring your animal or you into your higher self so that you can connect with your spiritual divine being and allow that to give you power and direction in your life. So this has been Sally Morgan and Tristan Corgi for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi, where we have talked about angel tuning forks. And we'll try it one more time if Tristan can stand it. Which can be used when your pet is crossing the rainbow bridge to connect with your higher intuition, your creative self, to achieve a visionary state, useful for insight, can be used around the bones of the head to bring mobility and intuition to you. And they also connect us to the angelic realm. So I really recommend having these tuning forks if you do any kind of a healing practice, because they are really useful just to keep you at an elevated spiritual place to do your work, but it's also really useful so many times when you have a person or an animal who is crossing the rainbow bridge. So this has been Sally and Tristan for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. It is sunny and beautiful here. We're hoping to have another nice walk today. And just a quick announcement, my sister did an interview on web radio with Linda Tellington-Jones, and that will be aired today on Dream Vision 7 radio at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I did put a connection to it on all of my Facebook pages. So please check that out. It's going to be a really exciting opportunity to hear Linda and to listen to my sister's many wonderful radio shows. They're so great. I hope that I can get them archived on my website at some point, because she has interviewed some really interesting people, including the wonderful Linda Tellington-Jones. So hopefully you will be able to find a way to listen to that today, and of course they will be archived at some point. And I will be seeing some senior Corgis today maybe, and then going to an open house at one of my friends' healing practices. And it's a busy day, huh, Tris, for a Sunday. And of course there'll be a walk as we're recovering from our partying for National Dog Day. So thanks for joining us today, where we talked about the angel tuners. And we will see you again on Wednesday, because I will be at my work as an educator on Monday and Tuesday this week. Thanks for joining us. Do you have to get down, Tris? I don't know if I can hold you and reach. Oh, yes, we can.